Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 568. Welcome in. I want to start by saying I did something irresponsible last night. I stayed up way too late. And, I guess, as I say that, I'm realizing now I might be getting old. Because what I did, when I say I did something irresponsible last night, I stayed up way too late. What do you guys think I did last night? Because if you listen to Zach Schomler talk in my other podcasts, you've heard the stories I've told. Your mind probably wanders to horrible places. But I'm realizing now I'm about to sound like the oldest old man ever. The irresponsible thing I did, which I want to give you a recommendation, actually, is what I was trying to do here. I stayed up way too late last night watching the movie Flash. I have HBO right now because of Hard Knocks. And, I went to bed at 9 later than I normally do, which, as I say that as well, makes me realize I'm an old man. Couldn't sleep, so around like 10 o'clock, I'm like, okay, my brain's going, I gotta watch something to fall asleep. I find a 2.5-hour movie on HBO, The Flash, just came out on HBO, and I loved it. Like, if you like comic books, and you've been kind of, I follow pretty closely all the comic book movies, because I'm a nerd, my dad loves comic books, and I grew up that way. But even if you're not a huge nerd of comic books, but you loosely have followed what's been going on with Superman and some of the Batman movies, and you watch this movie, it's so fun. It's such a good time. And I don't know, I recommend if you have HBO and you're looking for something to watch, it's a long movie. I stayed up, again, way too late last night watching this dang thing. But The Flash on HBO, it's a good time. I've got a correction from the other day. I said that Kenny Pickett got benched against Tampa. I think this happened because I was getting ready to watch film of the Tampa game from Kenny Pickett. I saw he played in the first half, barely really played in the second half. I assumed he got benched. He actually is quite a bad correction. He played 2 quarters and then 4 plays in the third quarter because he got a concussion. So let's correct the record here. The reason why Mitchell Trubisky came off the bench against Tampa last year for Pittsburgh was because Kenny Pickett, their quarterback, got a concussion. I try whenever I can to correct the record when I need to, and that is an important thing to do. So Kenny Pickett, concussion last year, not benched. Now, we got a lot of news today that's all about big trades. Give me 1 second. I got to clear my throat. Give me uno momento. All right, we can breathe. First of all, the Cleveland Browns have traded quarterback Josh Dobbs to the Arizona Cardinals. And you can view it as, hey, the Browns traded a quarterback away, or the other way to say that is Arizona traded for a quarterback, Josh Dobbs. Now, Arizona gets Josh Dobbs and a 7th-round 2024 pick. Cleveland gets a 2024 5th-round pick. It's very interesting. I think both teams have an interesting storyline here with this quarterback trade. First of all, the backup quarterback in Cleveland is now Dorian Thompson-Robinson. This is a player who has been a darling of mine during the NFL preseason. He can run, he can throw, he's throwing from different arm angles, his decision-making is incredible. He does not look like a rookie quarterback. He's done a phenomenal job during the preseason, and clearly, he earned the respect of the Browns organization a ton as well. So now, it's worth noting, one of my favorite players from the entire preseason is now only 1 play away from the starting quarterback, Deshaun Watson, getting hurt, and DTR being the man in Cleveland. I love it. I didn't foresee them trading Josh Dobbs, but even at the time I was wondering, hey, why isn't DTR the backup? He's doing phenomenal. Do they even need Josh Dobbs? I guess they agreed with me. It's also worth noting they cut Kellen Mond, their 4th-string quarterback. Then they traded Josh Dobbs away, and they immediately pulled Kellen Mond out of the waiver wire. So the 3 quarterbacks in Cleveland are Deshaun Watson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Kellen Mond. Josh Dobbs is an Arizona Cardinal. Now, Arizona trading for Josh Dobbs is really interesting from their perspective because this reinforces my belief that the Cardinals quarterback, Kyler Murray, he's not going to play much this year. Don't expect him to play week 1. I certainly don't. I know there's been reports he's trying to get back for week 1. It's not going to happen. There is no benefit to the Cardinals playing Kyler Murray this year. There wasn't already. They've got 2 first-round picks in 2024, this next upcoming draft. They've got their own pick and the pick from Houston. Those could both end up being 2 top 5 picks in next year's draft. They've got options. They could likely trade Kyler Murray this offseason, this next offseason, I guess, or they could use the draft picks to build around him. Kyler Murray with 2 top 5 picks, what can you do with your football team? Either way, playing Kyler Murray only hurts the Arizona Cardinals. Him playing on the football field this year in Arizona either is going to lower his trade value if he's a bad quarterback, and if he's a good quarterback, you're going to win more games and have a lower draft pick. Either way, if Kyler Murray's playing for Arizona, you lose. So I view this as, hey, there's a reason why Arizona traded for Josh Dobbs. Why would they trade for a capable veteran third-string quarterback? If Kyler Murray's coming back, they don't need Josh Dobbs. Colt McCoy is their QB1. Well, Kyler Murray is out. He's recovering from a torn ACL he got late in last year. And again, if Kyler's coming back anytime soon, why do you put all this effort into trading for a third-string quarterback? You don't. This is the telegraph message. Hey, Kyler Murray isn't coming back anytime soon, if at all, this year in 2023. So Josh Dobbs, this is a notable move for Arizona. It signals what their plan is at the quarterback position. We've got a couple other Arizona trades, but before we get into that, we got to talk about the one I probably should have led the show with this, although I'll be totally honest. I found the Josh Dobbs trade more interesting, and I feel like we learned more from the Josh Dobbs trade than we did from this next trade. But this is the trade everyone's going to be talking about, I believe, in the media. If you follow football at all, you know what I'm talking about. The Dallas Cowboys traded for quarterback Trey Lance. He was the number 3 overall pick in 2021 when the 49ers traded 3 first-round picks to move up from 12th to 3rd in that draft to go get him. And now the Cowboys have given up a 4th-round pick to go get Trey Lance, the player that was once so valuable, who was worth 3 first-round picks and the number 3 overall pick. I was surprised when Dallas made a move to go get Trey Lance. I was like, oh, you know what? I did not see that coming at all. And frankly, I'm a bit disappointed. I was hoping he would go to Minnesota. Minnesota's got a Kirk Cousins situation at quarterback there, meaning that Kirk Cousins' contract is up in Minnesota after this year. They do not appear to have a long-term plan at quarterback. He's a local Minnesota kid. Why not make a move, see what he can do, and maybe he's your quarterback next year. But when you think about Dallas trading for Trey Lance, it kind of makes sense. Jerry Jones, their owner, views himself as a smart football guy. He's not just an owner. He controls a lot of stuff there. It's like, oh, I see a player I loved in the 2021 NFL draft. He's available for cheap. Let's go get him. He saw a guy that was once viewed as a top 3 pick available for a mid-round pick. He's like, a 4th-round pick, why not? And I actually do not hate this move because if Trey Lance turns out to be a good player, not even a good player, an average player, he's definitely worth a 4th-round pick. And his potential is to be way more than just an average player. I'm not sure that's going to happen. There's a big if involved in that. If he can progress and get better. Because in the preseason this year, Trey Lance has not looked like even really an NFL quarterback. I mean, the game is moving too fast for him. He's been late on throws. He's been making bad decisions. I mean, Trey Lance has even appeared to struggle throwing a spiral. You're like, what's happening here? Why is the ball coming out of his hand looking like a wounded duck? You're like, what? Well, I've shot, what's the word for that? You throw the thing in the air, you shoot it out of the sky. It looks like that. You're like, well, what's happening here with Trey Lance? Like, as it falls to the ground, that's Trey Lance's spiral. And Trey Lance went from the 49ers' number 3 overall pick to their 3rd-string quarterback for a reason. But again, I repeat this. I don't hate this move from Dallas's perspective. It's very low risk. If you end up trading a 4th-round pick for a player who does nothing, it's not the end of the world. You can certainly survive that. You'll be okay. Oh no, our 4th-round pick in 2024. Oh, how will we ever continue on as a franchise? It's fine. But if it works out, it's actually a massive steal. And Trey Lance definitely needed a change of scenery. It wasn't working in San Francisco. Confidence is so important for a quarterback. I don't believe Trey Lance felt wanted anymore in San Francisco. It's reported that he actually requested a trade on Wednesday. Thursday, the ball got rolled and they started taking calls. Friday, the Cowboys made the best offer available, a 4th-round pick. John Lynch, the 49ers general manager, was like, the Cowboys really went after him. A 4th-round pick isn't exactly what I would say going after a player, but they probably made the best and most aggressive offer. They're like, hey, we want him. What's it going to take? And it's really important to point out that during the preseason this year, the offense was built around 49ers starting quarterback Brock Purdy. They built an offense better suited to Brock Purdy and their second-string quarterback Sam Darnold than to Trey Lance. There were no designed quarterback runs. There was no catering to what his skill set is best at. I don't know that Trey Lance is a great fit in Dallas either, but I want to offer an optimistic point of view. What could possibly happen in Dallas? Because it's been said, there have been rumors that the Dallas Cowboys want their quarterback, Dak Prescott, to be able to play a little more outside of structure, to extend plays and use his legs a little more. I got news for you. That's not Dak Prescott. That's not going to happen for Dak. In fact, the more he tries to extend plays and play outside of structure, I think the more interceptions he's going to throw. I think you can learn and get better, but I'm not exactly a believer in you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but certainly physically, I don't know that Dak is capable of that style of play. It's just not what he is anymore. He's had a lot of injuries, lower body injuries. I'm just not convinced that's what Dak can become. Maybe Trey Lance can be that player. Here is the most important thing I can say about Trey Lance in this entire segment. As he's traded to Dallas for a 4th-round pick, remember he's 23 years old. And he just turned 23. He turned 23 in May. He is a young man, a young quarterback who has not taken a lot of snaps, not only in the NFL, but in college. He played like 1 year as starting quarterback in college. Then the Rona hit, played one more game in 2020. Basically sat out that whole year. Then he gets hurt multiple times, doesn't get a lot of reps. So he hasn't played much football. I went back and I watched this college tape, and I am less confident in it now than I was at the time, because it is clear he's playing against lower level competition. And how fast is he really? He hasn't been able to separate from people during the preseason this year. But he's a young man. He's 23. And just turned 23. He's not going to turn 24 during the season. He won't turn 24 until May 2024, after next year's draft. He's a young quarterback. Dak is 30. And the current Cowboys quarterback, Dak Prescott, is expensive. I don't think he's going to win them a Super Bowl. I would even use the word overrated there. Maybe overcompensated, given what he can provide and how well he's paid. I would say, it's starting to look like a bad contract in Dallas. Now, after 2024, Dak's contract is up. It's over. If they want to keep him in Dallas, they would have to give him a new contract and extend him. And after this year, Dak is terrible this year. They've actually got a potential out. They could walk away from his contract after this year. What I'm saying here is that in the future, like let's say 3 years from now, it's possible Dak Prescott is no longer the quarterback in Dallas. So they're going to need to find another option. Maybe Dak is amazing this year, earns another long-term contract. We will see. However, maybe Trey Lance is the future. That's the most optimistic thing I can say. That's a long shot. Again, struggling to throw a spiral. He is not comfortable in the NFL reading defenses. He's way behind. He looks slow. He's late on throws. He's inaccurate. Not a great decision maker. But remember, he's young, hasn't played a lot of football, and was in a situation where they didn't appear to want him anymore. All those factors really hurt a young quarterback. I think a fresh start in Dallas, there's a possibility he becomes a better player. I cannot stress this enough. This is a great trade for Dallas. A 4th-round pick for a player that has potential. Why not see if you can develop Trey Lance in Dallas? I like the move. Totally fine for them. Now let's talk about the 49ers. I have seen people upset that 49ers general manager John Lynch and their head coach Kyle Shanahan are not getting more criticism for the Trey Lance draft pick and his failure after getting drafted. They traded up a lot to get him. They took him really high in the draft, and he's done nothing for their organization, so much so he's not even on their team anymore 2 years later. And people are very upset. Yeah, I think it's Ryan Clark, I believe works for ESPN. I think I saw a video of him being like, why are we talking about how much of a failure John Lynch is? Now, he's a bit jealous. I think he wanted to be an NFL general manager. That didn't work out. I think there's a bit of jealousy there behind his words. Here is why you're not seeing John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan torn to the ground and torched. There's no reason to call for their heads because they're still winning. They're doing well. In fact, they've got 2 quarterbacks who probably could win games for them both in San Francisco. They went to the NFC title game last year. They lost to the Eagles. They were a game away from the Super Bowl last year. They clearly were fine without Trey Lance working out. Normally, if you trade 3 first-round picks for a guy that you draft at quarterback, number 3 overall, and it's a total bust, normally that would destroy your entire franchise. However, that didn't happen here. That's why they're fine, because they're winning. They got great players. They're still finding a way to win at quarterback, even with Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. There's no reason to call for their heads because they're winning, and I think that's so important. Anyone mad sounds bitter. If the 49ers were like cratering as a franchise and the draft pick had led to them losing games and being a catastrophic failure, then I would understand being critical of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. But the reality is that somehow, in spite of Trey Lance being a failure, I don't know if I love that wordage, but definitely he didn't achieve what they were hoping he would in San Francisco. That's putting it mildly. I think in spite of the fact that that trade and draft pick didn't work out, the fact they're still winning speaks to how good they are at their jobs. If you want John Lynch fired, you're insane. The moves he's made in free agency, the way he's built his football team over the last couple of years, he basically stole the Eagles' best player, their best free agent, their defensive tackle, Javon Hargrave, in free agency. You're like, how did that happen? They make move after move after move. They've been phenomenal. Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. So that's why they're not on the chopping block. There's no reason to come after them because they're winning. And that's all that really matters in the NFL. The draft pick, total bust. It's a failure. But they're not only surviving it, they're thriving in spite of it. So that's why there's no criticism of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Another interesting trade happened. The next 2 trades are all Cardinals related. First of all, the Cardinals traded Isaiah Simmons to the Giants for a 7th-round pick. Why is this notable? A player getting traded for a 7th-round pick. Normally, you're like, who cares? No, this is Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons was the number 8 overall pick in 2020. Top 10 pick in 2020. He got traded for a 7th-rounder. He's a great athlete with a lot of potential who hasn't been a great football player. And it kind of comes across like Arizona literally didn't know where to line him up on the football field. Because now with the Giants, he's listed as a linebacker. He was drafted as a linebacker. But in training camp this year in Arizona, he was playing safety. And they've kind of moved him all over the field. And Jonathan Gannon is a defensive coach I respect. It's a head coach in Arizona. But it feels like this is a failed experiment. He tried to move Isaiah Simmons around and it wasn't working. And they're like, we can't figure out how to make this player work for us. We're going to trade him away for nothing. He's in year 4. Isaiah Simmons' contract is up after this year. And if the Giants want to, they can pick up his 5th-year option after this year. I think it's a great trade. I don't know what the Cardinals are thinking. Apparently, they just thought there's no value we can get from this player anymore. Let's just cut our losses and move on. But Isaiah Simmons, he's 25 years old. He's an amazing athlete. There's a reason he was a first-round pick. He's still really raw. I think they're still got to teach him a lot and figure out where he's going to line up, and they got a lot of things to figure out with the Giants roster there, how Isaiah Simmons fits in. But he was easily worth a 7th-round pick. Like, I kind of can't believe this could turn into nothing. Isaiah Simmons could be a player who just, great athlete that doesn't work out in the NFL. But if he turns into even a starter on defense for the Giants, that's a great move. And he could be better than that. Again, he's a world-class athlete who needs to reach his potential with better coaching and a lot of work. But who's to say he couldn't? Don Wink Martindale, the Giants defensive coordinator, is fantastic. I don't see why they couldn't turn Isaiah Simmons into a fantastic whatever they want him to be. Linebacker, safety, I don't know. You work with him, you coach him. There's potential with this player. I don't get the sense it's a work ethic problem. I think it was kind of a failed experiment in Arizona, and it's a very low-risk move for the Giants. You trade for a player. If it doesn't work, you move on. But the potential is there for this to be a great move and a starting player for a 7th-round pick. It's a fantastic idea for the Giants, and I'm kind of rooting for it to work out. I will track Isaiah Simmons all year and probably all next year, seeing what he becomes in New York, because, man, there's potential with this guy that was never reached in Arizona. And there's nothing I hate more than someone who doesn't reach their potential. So we'll track that. That'll be interesting. So the Cardinals traded for quarterback Josh Dobbs, I think showing that Kyler's not coming back anytime soon. They got rid of a 1st-round pick, Isaiah Simmons, and the Cardinals made a 3rd deal on Friday. They sent offensive lineman Josh Jones to Houston for a 5th-round pick. How do you tank in the NFL? Do you know how you tank in the NFL? Anyone who's listened to me for years probably knows the answer. You don't intentionally try to lose games. Nobody does that. It's terrible for everybody. You lose the players, you lose the locker room, the coach. You can't feel good about your job coaching if you're not trying to win. It's a bad situation all around. The way you tank in the NFL is you try to win, but you remove all the talent from your roster, i.e., maybe you don't play your Pro Bowl quarterback. Maybe you trade away or get rid of your star receiver, DeAndre Hopkins. Or you get rid of all your talented players and you play with garbage. You don't try to lose, you just make your team devoid of talent and trade anything of value for draft picks. Right now, the Cardinals have 11 draft picks in 2024, including 2 top 5 picks. It's also likely they're going to get a 12th draft pick with a compensatory 4th-round pick in Arizona. Looks like Kyler's not going to play anytime this year. They're making trades. They're getting draft picks. They had the most free agent money this offseason in Arizona, and they made 0 moves. Now, I made a prediction for the Arizona Cardinals. I said they were going to go 1-16, and I'm not convinced they're trying to win. Last time this happened was the year that the Jaguars ended up with Trevor Lawrence. Last time I said, hey, I think this team's trying to tank, and I listed all the reasons. The Jaguars fan base got furious at me, and they got the number 1 overall pick and drafted Trevor Lawrence. I put out my predictions of the Cardinals saying, hey, I think they're going to be awful this year. I'm not convinced with the moves they're making, they're not trying to tank. In fact, I am convinced, I think they are trying to tank. They're just not going to intentionally lose games because that's a bad recipe for everybody. But their roster is devoid of talent. They had a ton of money open in free agency. They didn't use it. For a brief moment, I got all this criticism for my Cardinals prediction. 1-16. People said, you didn't do any research. You suck. You're lazy. I hate you. I don't know if I hate you was in there. Probably was somewhere. Bad journalism. Hey, newsflash, I'm not a journalist. I don't claim to be. I'm not breaking stories. I tell you my opinion on stuff. I don't consider myself a journalist. I think that's important to say. I talk about sports. Whatever that is, I don't know the word for that. I still carry myself with ethics. I still really try to be, but I don't want the burden of being a journalist. That sounds like a lot. So Cardinals fans that are mad at me for predicting they're going to have an awful year. Last time I did that was with the Jaguars. They did get the number 1 pick that year. They were awful. I feel no longer any guilt for my prediction for the Cardinals. 1-16, a team that doesn't appear to be trying to win. The moves they just made on Friday confirmed that to me. Josh Dobbs, Isaiah Simmons, getting rid of any player you can for any value, any draft picks you can acquire. Guys, the Arizona Cardinals are tanking. And you know what? It's the right move. That's the thing. Cardinals fans are furious at me for saying that, Cardinals fans are mad at me for saying they're tanking, but I actually agree with it. I think tanking's the right thing to do here. Where would the Jaguars be without Trevor Lawrence? Urban Meyer was their coach. What if they didn't get Trevor Lawrence that year? Can you imagine? Can you imagine where the Jaguars would be without Trevor Lawrence right now? Best thing that ever happened to them. What if the Cardinals get Caleb Williams, a quarterback out of USC, or let's say Drake May, a quarterback out of North Carolina? Either one. I actually, weirdly enough, lean towards Drake May because he's bigger. Reminds me more of Justin Herbert. They already had a short quarterback who was mobile. Didn't work out as well. The Cardinals should be trying to lose games. They should not be trying to win. Getting 2 top 5 picks would change everything for their organization. So I thought about doing double dipping, and as I do predictions round 2 early in September, I guess next week, I thought about really deep diving into the Cardinals and saying, let's make this right and but no, I don't need to make anything right. I was right. The Cardinals are they're tanking. They're not trying to win. I feel great about that. I feel vindicated, actually. Watching the Josh Dobbs trade made me go, yeah, they're not going to play Kyler Murray anytime soon. Trading for draft picks. I looked at how many draft picks I have. I'm like, yeah. The Cardinals are not a team trying to win football games, and you can't guilt me into believing anything else. Speaking of Arizona, let's talk about college football in Arizona very briefly for you people that don't like college football. Even if you like the NFL, there is a new quarterback to pay attention to. Arizona State is starting a true freshman quarterback, Jaden Rashada. Now, Arizona State is not expected to be a very good football team this year, but they do have an exciting young coach. Kenny Dillingham, guy I love, was the offensive coordinator at Oregon. He's fantastic. He actually went to Arizona State. And Jaden Rashada is a true freshman quarterback playing with an awesome offensive coach at Arizona State. They may not be very good. They may not be a great program this year. But the quarterback gives them a reason to be paid attention to. I will keep my eyeball on Arizona State all year because you got my attention. A talented young freshman quarterback who was at once committed to, I think, Florida. He's a really good football player who got the nod really early. And man, is it exciting. I'm telling you, the Pac-12 this year, let's go down the list. Michael Penix Jr., Washington. Cam Ward, Washington State. DJ Uiagalelei at Oregon State. Bo Nix at Oregon. Jaden Rashada, Arizona State. Jaden DeLora at Arizona. How many is that? 4. Cam Rising at Utah. Shedeur Sanders at Colorado. I've lost track of how many I have. We have Caleb Williams at USC. There's a new kid at UCLA, forgetting his name. You've got, I know I'm forgetting some schools. Who am I forgetting? Oregon State, Washington State, Utah, Cal Stanford, don't care about. It's still, I guess I'm botching the segment here. I don't know how many there are exactly. There's like 8 or 9 quarterbacks in the Pac-12 that are like fantastic and worth paying attention to. I know I'm blanking on somebody right now. I can't remember who it is. I feel like there's a team I'm missing. And the minute I remember, it's going to be hilarious and embarrassing. But that's all I can remember at the moment. I don't know why. My point is, like, man, you look around the Pac-12, it's going to be probably the best year ever. There's talent everywhere. And the quarterback position in the Pac-12 is, like, insane. There's so many guys to pay attention to. It's going to be a insane fireworks send-off for the Pac-12. Their last ever year as a conference, probably going to be their best every year. Quarterbacks that are fantastic, great football teams, really competitive. I've been saying for years that the Pac-12, if you just ignored the national coverage, if you don't pay attention to the Big Ten or the SEC and you watch the Pac-12 in a vacuum, it's fantastic football. It's competitive. It's interesting. They beat up on each other. That's part of why they don't ever have a team that's nationally relevant. It stands above everyone else in Pac-12. But man, if you want to watch some good football in college this year, in 2023, watch Pac-12 games, man. Pay attention to what's happening there. Maybe that's a theme I'll cover all year is just the fun the Pac-12 is this year. Like, kind of celebrate its final year. I've never covered the Pac-12 very closely on the show. I mean, I follow it, but I've never as a segment said, like, let's look at the Pac-12 this week. But maybe I should do that this year as a final send-off to a conference I grew up watching that I greatly enjoy. It's a fun idea right there. Now, I've been watching a lot of Kenny Pickett film. I've been going through every game Kenny Pickett played last year during his rookie year. And as I've been watching Kenny Pickett film, the Steelers quarterback, I had this note. Why is he not hitting hot routes? When there's a blitz coming and a blitzer comes free, it appears like he doesn't have the freedom to slide the protection or doesn't have an ability to call a hot route, make an adjustment, throw the ball quickly to beat the blitz. And in fact, he couldn't. I was watching Kenny Pickett film going, what's going on here? There's a problem here with the protections. And one of my notes is like, hey, he's got to get better at sliding protections. Now, Pat Freiermuth, the Steelers tight end, said on a podcast with their former quarterback, Big Ben, Pat Freiermuth, Freiermuth or Freiermuth? I think it's Freiermuth. I'm going to say it that way. It's funny. I think I've said that before out loud. I'm just not confident in it right now for some reason. Anyway, Steelers tight end Patty F said Kenny Pickett had no hot routes last year. He wasn't given the freedom at the line of scrimmage to go, hey, DN's coming. Linebacker's coming off the edge. We got to have an alert. Change it. Give me a hot route off to the right. Wasn't allowed to do that. And it makes sense. So if you are a person who believes Kenny Pickett is going to make a big step forward this year in his second year in the NFL, this is another reason to believe he will do even better this year than he did last year. It's very simple. This year in 2023, Kenny Pickett's going to have more freedom at the line of scrimmage. When they're in a bad play call, the defense is blitzing, and they've got no hot routes, he can call an adjustment and get the ball out quickly out of his hands to beat the blitz. I guess last year, I don't know what's happening in Pittsburgh. Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, wasn't allowing that. Maybe he didn't trust him. Maybe he didn't want to put too much on the rookie's plate, although I would argue Kenny Pickett showed tremendous understanding of their system as a rookie last year. He was dumb not to trust him, if I'm totally honest. But to say, hey, worry about the play call. Let's not have you worrying about protections or hot routes. Let's just run the play we call. I get it. But in year two, Kenny Pickett's going to be able to make adjustments at the line. And it's going to help him take his game to the next level. On top of all the other reasons. He'll be in another year in the system, even better. But that's a massive deal. So if you're not sure whether Kenny Pickett's going to be better this year than he was last year, understand that he's going to finally be able to beat blitzes with adjustment at the line of scrimmage, which he didn't have last year. It's a game changer. Now, I want to share a spoiler warning. I am working on a film analysis. It will come out, I think, next week, maybe next Friday, something like that. I've been working on a film analysis about Kenny Pickett, but what I want to do, for content's sake, plus not everyone watches everything I do, so I want to make sure I scattershot this so as many people as possible see this. I want to share my notes on Kenny Pickett so far. I've got 4 games left to watch in the 2022 season from last year. And first of all, the most important thing is something I already covered. Kenny Pickett didn't have any hot routes last year. When they were in a bad protection, blitz is coming, he wasn't able to change the plan to beat the blitz. That's a massive deal that really supports my belief he's going to be better this year than last year. Another note I have on Kenny Pickett is that he's a way better runner than I think he gets credit for. There was a 3rd down against Cincinnati. He had a QB keep on his own read, ran for a 1st down. I was like, wow. And many times Kenny Pickett on film last year. I knew he could run in college. We saw that. Remember that fake slide? He ran for a long touchdown. He's still running very well with the Steelers. And frankly, watching Kenny Pickett physically, he's not Josh Allen. They actually played Buffalo last year. Josh Allen had not one, but two incredible long touchdown passes against the Steelers where you're like, he just hucks it. You're like, that's a different level throw. That's a throw that, no offense to Kenny Pickett can't make. However, who does Kenny Pickett remind me of physically? To be honest, it's actually Tony Romo, former Cowboys quarterback. Guy who could run and extend plays, had a really good arm. I think physical skill set wise, they're very similar. Now, I think Kenny Pickett's actually a better decision maker than Tony Romo was, believe it or not. And that's another thing worth talking about is that, man, Kenny Pickett never turned a bad situation into a worse situation. There's nothing open downfield, no problem. He threw a check down. He's extending a play right, about to get hit, nothing's open, he threw the ball out of bounds. The amount of throwaways and checkdowns I saw on film were actually extremely encouraging. It showed a guy who was unwilling to force a throw into coverage. In fact, a couple times on third down, he threw a check down, running back ran for a first down. You're like, that's a great play. That's exactly what you do. I was in my freaking office right here watching film, going like, yeah! Like I was like jumping up and down like a monkey that found his first banana after a check down on third down. I'm like, yes, Kenny, let's go! I can't tell you how much I respect Kenny Pickett. Decision-making is fantastic. Another thing he does that I love, he'll get absolutely leveled a couple times. He had a throw, I think in his first game, over the middle of the Pat Fryermuth. You're like, dude, he got bodied. Perfect throw. Exactly where it needed to be. Multiple times last year on film, I've seen him step into a hit, get obliterated, and the ball goes exactly where it needs to be on time, perfect throw. And you're like, that takes guts. That's something Eli Manning did really well with the Giants, was he would step into a hit. He would get nailed, but the ball would be exactly where it needed to be on time and accurately. Kenny Pickett's the exact same. And when I see that from a young quarterback, stepping into hits, not afraid. Now, he protects his body. He slides, he gets down, he throws the ball away. He's not like Tua where he's taking unnecessary hits. But sometimes you got to take a hit to deliver a throw. And he had multiple throws last year where I was like, man, he's not afraid of stepping into that to deliver the ball on time where it needs to be. Round of applause from Zach Schaumler. That's a fantastic job by Kenny Pickett. I love this guy, man. We also last year saw the development of, what do we call the early development of his relationship with Kenny Pickett, or with George Pickens, Pickens. Him and George Pickens, man, I think part of it's because they probably came in at the same time, drafted together, rookie OTAs together. Their chemistry was fantastic. Back shoulder fades. You know, the one thing I will say, watching Pickett last year, his chemistry with Deontay Johnson wasn't great. He threw a couple of interceptions where he was targeting Deontay Johnson and they weren't on the same page. There was a throw against Miami where he's rolling left, Kenny Pickett is. Deontay Johnson's in the end zone. He puts a hand up, expecting the ball to be on the back pylon, and Kenny Pickett throws it to the front of the end zone. They're not on the same page. Defender picks it off kind of as he's falling out of bounds, and it's a great interception, but it's made possible because Pickett and Deontay Johnson were not on the same page. And that's something that, it makes sense when you remember Deontay Johnson was a starter going into last year, probably working more with Mitchell Trubisky. And Deontay Johnson and him, just Pickett and Johnson were not on the same page very often last year. I think this year, another argument that supports my belief that Kenny Pickett's going to be even better this year is he's going to have more reps with Deontay Johnson. I expect their chemistry to be better together than it was last year. So you saw him growing with George Pickens, making back shoulder throws and all kinds of crazy stuff, and Pickens had a couple incredible catches last year. You saw him unable to make throws against blitzes where he couldn't adjust pre-snap and call a hot route. And you saw his chemistry with Deontay Johnson. It wasn't great. Those are all reasons why I'm like, man, he's going to grow with both receivers. He's going to be able to call hot routes. I believe that Kenny Pickett's going to be monumentally better this year, and that is why. One other thing it's worth talking about, I will cover this during the film analysis video, is that in Kenny Pickett's first 5 games as an NFL quarterback, he threw 8 interceptions. It really inflated his interception numbers. Then in the final 8 games of the year, he only had 1 interception. And now a lot of people would say, oh, well, he got way better. 8 interceptions early, but then in the second half of the year really settled in, got understanding of what he was doing. But no. 3 of those early 8 interceptions were not his fault very clearly. One was a bad play call from the coach. One was a Hail Mary. One, his receiver, Chase Claypool, literally fell down. You're like, well, that's not a bad throw. It's just the receiver let him down. Then there was that one where he wasn't on the same page as Deontay Johnson. That's an arguable one. So 3 or 4 out of the 8 interceptions early in the year were not his fault. 3 definitely were not his fault. 1 was arguable. Kenny Pickett only should have had 5 interceptions on the year last year. It wasn't that he got way better. It's that he had a lot of bad luck early on in the year. He did get better. He did make fewer mistakes. But another thing, I keep saying another thing, but something I love about Kenny Pickett, I've been trying to look for things he did repeatedly, mistakes he made over and over again. You don't find a lot of them. He made one mistake once and then never again. He had an early interception that was his fault where he was trying to just get the ball out to the flat. Probably should have thrown it away completely. And every other situation after that early interception, when he was in trouble and what play didn't look right, he threw the ball firmly all the way out of bounds. When in doubt, throw it out. And Kenny Pickett really, really grew. Every mistake he made, I feel like he only made it once. It was very rare for him to make a repeated mistake last year. That's kind of why when I was watching film, like, hey, why is he not doing better at understanding blitzes and recognizing, hey, this guy's coming off the edge. I got to slide my protection, call a hot route. I was like, that's the only mistake he's making over and over and over again. Then I come to find out it wasn't that he was making that mistake. It's that he wasn't allowed to fix it. So Kenny Pickett, man, woo boy, he's going to be fantastic this year. And the film supports that, man. I'm telling you what, the film shows that Kenny Pickett's going to be phenomenal this year. So a little preview of my film analysis. Of course, probably, I don't want to commit to anything. Next Friday, maybe, there'll be a film analysis video. I'll show you everything I just talked about. Kenny Pickett's basically done. 4 more games left. I'll probably watch them all today and tomorrow. Then I want to try to get to Daniel Jones. That might be all I can get to. The season is coming in hot. It's going to be really quick. But film analysis, once I do those 2, I'll probably do one more about the quarterbacks. I have film of like 5 different quarterbacks right now. I have film of both the quarterbacks I wanted to cover and the quarterbacks I played against. I'm going to gather all the great throws from Josh Allen and Mahomes I can find and be like, yo, look at these incredible throws. Probably do that too. But let me be very, very clear. During the year, no film analysis. I got so much on my plate. The only thing I might do, I might get to this. I have Zach Wilson film from last year. He's not going to be playing this year. I don't think it could hurt to put out a film analysis of Zach Wilson midseason this year about how he did last year. But I'm not going to cover Jared Goff, how he did last year, in the middle of this year. Doesn't make any sense. So I've run out of time. I'm understanding that. But you're looking at a different Zach. Rejuvenated, doing better in every aspect. I've got my ducks in a row. And so what I really aggressively want to do early next offseason, after the NFL season this upcoming year. So we're talking February, March, April, May, June, probably, and July. Heavy film analysis all offseason. Where I want to hit maybe every starting quarterback in the NFL. Do a film analysis video for everyone. Talk about what they did well, what they need to do better next year. I know that's what people want from me. It doesn't make sense to do it in mid-season, but I am finally settled in where I'm comfortable. The show's doing well. I'm mentally doing very well. Don't ask me about capitalism. I hate it. Hey, don't you love? No, I'm not going to say that. Don't ask me about the government. Don't ask me about aliens. It's not good for me to talk about. Things are horrible. But when it comes to football and myself doing my job, I'm in a great spot. And that's going to lead to doing, I think, fantastic, incredible film work next offseason. And it's taken a lot of time. I've had to grow a lot as a person. I've had to figure out a lot of stuff behind the scenes with the NFL, which has been a whole different frustration. But we're good now. Right? Hey, we figured it out. Hallelujah. It's awesome. Took probably 2 years for that to figure out. But I see a future where after this season, we dive heavily into film and give the people what they want. It's going to take the channel to new heights. It's going to be awesome. Again, it doesn't make sense for me to do film analysis during the season. I think it's better to save that for the off season when there's a dearth of content about football, when everyone's like, man, what do we talk about? Football season's over. Your boy Zach has got your back. Zach's got your back. Here's film analysis in March, April, May, June, July. The months with no football, Zach's got your back. So, anyway, long rant is over about film analysis, but I'm feeling great. I'm enjoying watching film. The process is fun, and mentally, I am doing better than ever. So, I'm sorry it took 2 years basically for that to get figured out. But, you got to do what you got to do, and I'm on a good path, and that feels pretty cool. I've got a conversation I want to have about Aaron Rodgers. I want to talk about Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Here's a concern I have for Aaron. This is the most skeptical, negative, I guess, frame of mind I can put around this. I don't like that this is where my brain goes, but it is where my brain goes. Here is my fear. If Aaron Rodgers does, in fact, win a Super Bowl, he does, yes, positive. He wins a Super Bowl with the Jets this year in 2023. I worry people are going to look at him and say, well, of course he won a Super Bowl. Look at all the talent around him. Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, good coaching staff. People might even say, well, yeah, he had to go to a super team to win a Super Bowl. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. I hope people just celebrate Aaron Rodgers and go, can you believe the Jets won a Super Bowl? It's amazing. That's what I hope happens if Aaron can win a Super Bowl this year, is people just are joyful and celebrate and enjoy a franchise that most of my life has been garbage doing something good. That'd be kind of cool. And it's a cool story there. Here is my bigger concern, though. What if Aaron does not win a Super Bowl? Negative. They do not. It doesn't happen. They do not win a Super Bowl. And I feel like that's more likely to happen. I think Aaron winning a Super Bowl this year is a long shot. I'm worried about their offensive line. And I think that they might still be a year away. They've got a really difficult schedule early in the NFL. Probably their first 6 games are the toughest first 6 games for any NFL team of the 32. It's crazy. You look at the Jets' first 6 games, you're like, wow. They got no time to figure stuff out. If things aren't firing on all cylinders immediately, there is no adjustment period. They got to go from the gate, be fantastic. They might have an ugly start, get better as the year goes on, and just miss the playoffs. That's kind of what I think is going to happen to the Jets this year. My concern is, if that happens and the Jets do not win a Super Bowl, people will say, well, Aaron had all that talent and still couldn't win a Super Bowl. Look at him. He's garbage. Tom Brady went to Tampa and did it in year 1. Yeah, you got to understand. It's not the same situation. Tom Brady went to a Tampa Bay football team with a great offensive line and a terrible division. Aaron went to a Jets football team with a rough offensive line in arguably, it's an argument for sure, it's either the North or the East, but the AFC North or East is the best division in football. And you got Bill Belichick, the Dolphins, and Josh Allen to play every year. Twice, by the way, this year. And a really tough schedule. It's not the same situation that Tom Brady found himself in with Tampa in year 1 when he won a Super Bowl. But also people are going to say, well, Aaron has lost 4 NFC title games during his career. He's only 12-10 in the playoffs. It's a lot of losses, Zach. I believe the Jets are still a year away from being Super Bowl contenders, quite frankly. I mean, they're probably contenders, whatever that means, but I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl this year. I don't think they're going to take down Josh Allen, Kansas City. Man, some of the teams in the AFC are loaded. Next year, I think Buffalo is declining. Kansas City's got a lot of stuff to figure out financially. Next year could be the year for the Jets, but this year I'm skeptical. And my worry is if Aaron Rodgers doesn't win a Super Bowl this year, which feels obvious he's not going to. It feels inevitable. I don't think it's a realistic expectation. I think Aaron's going to win a Super Bowl this year. But I worry that if he doesn't, he's going to get a lot of hatred and a lot of attacks personally on him. And that makes me sad. That feels unfair. Not if unfair is the right word there, but it feels cruel. And I don't know, man. I don't see a guy who would be a failure if he doesn't win a Super Bowl in year one with the Jets, given where they've been, given where they're going, given their offensive line. I don't know. I think it's possible they could. It was a good team last year. They got a better team this year and a better quarterback. But I don't know. I just hope people aren't heartless after Aaron Rodgers does not win a Super Bowl this year. Let's talk about this fun story from me. Reggie Bush, former USC running back, is suing the NCAA for defamation. Suing the NCAA? Love it. You know who hates the NCAA? Zach Schaumler. I hate them so much with a passion. They're horrible. Taking advantage of young athletes, making a ton of money off them, not giving them parts of the money, then penalizing them for not getting part of the money when they try to ask for a little bit. In 2005, Reggie Bush won the Heisman Trophy. In 2010, he gave it back. He's trying to get his Heisman Trophy reinstated. Basically, what happened here is the NCAA made a mistake. They slipped up. I'll tell you about that in a second. But what happened was Reggie Bush was in college leading up to the NFL draft, but while he was still playing at USC, his family took around $300,000 from an agent who was trying to sign him. Basically, the deal was you take this money now, then you sign with me when the draft comes around. When your career is over at USC, let me be your agent. Now, Reggie Bush did something really stupid. He didn't sign with that agent. What are you doing, bud? You can't take $300,000 and then not go play for that guy, because what he's going to do is not go work with that guy. He's going to expose you, which he did. Came out, sued the family. Everything got made public. I paid this guy. He didn't sign with me. I'm mad about it. NCAA, go do something about it. He didn't get it revoked. He gave it back before they could take it away, but he doesn't have his Heisman Trophy. Now, the NCAA did an investigation. They found that to be true. Now, what recently happened, I believe in 2021, is the NCAA was talking about Reggie Bush, and they made a statement saying he was part of a pay-for-play arrangement, which is not true. He took money from an agent, but it wasn't pay-for-play. That's an exaggeration. That's not quite accurate. It's enough to sue for defamation. And I hope that Reggie Bush wins. Give him the Heisman Trophy back. Like, we live in a world now where you can pay athletes way more than anything Reggie Bush ever took. It's like, what are we doing here? The rules have changed. Can we not adapt? Can we just... It's kind of like, this is going to really drive people nuts. Armando Galarraga threw a perfect game for the Detroit Tigers a couple of years ago. It's in the face Armando Galarraga made when on the 27th out of the game, they throw the runner out at first base, and the umpire made a mistake and called him safe. And he has a smile like, what? Did that just happen? And I've always thought, why can't we just go back in time, get it right? Because in today's MLB, that's an out. Perfect game. He's in the Hall of Fame forever, remembered as a special player. Instead, he'll always be remembered, Armando Galarraga, as a player who almost had a perfect game and got screwed out of it. And now, under the current rules, he wouldn't have got screwed out of it. Under the current rules, Reggie Bush would have no problem having a Heisman Trophy. He would have made a lot of money. I think the NCAA for years preyed on athletes, making a ton of money off of them and not paying them their fair share of what they were providing. So I hope Reggie Bush gets his Heisman Trophy back. I hope he wins his defamation lawsuit. I hate the NCAA. And my only final thought about this is that, you know, the Heisman Trophy commercials, they get everyone there. I think they're Nissan, look at my car. Kyler Murray, Tim Tebow, Barry Sanders, all this stuff. I would love to see a Reggie Bush Heisman Trophy commercial after getting his Heisman Trophy back. I don't know what kind of creative, fun stuff their marketing team could come up with. But man, you know those commercials would be... I think even Wendy's, I believe, had a commercial. Reggie Bush got it back. And they were talking about a burger, not the Heisman Trophy. Like, there is so much potential there, commercial-wise, from Reggie Bush. I don't know. Give him the Heisman Trophy back. It's antiquated. It's stupid. It drives me nuts. I really hate the NCAA, probably more than Johnny Manziel does. And, they cost Johnny Manziel millions and millions of dollars. So I'm over it, and I'd like to see Reggie Bush win that lawsuit. Okay, I've got one note left. Hold on, read you what it says. It says, play with the buttons. Play with buttons. Once upon a time, on my other show, Zach Shelmer Talking, which I'm sure at some point will come back. Right now, I look at the fall schedule. I'm recording 6 episodes of Strong Opinion Sports a week. I don't really see a strong opening for Zach Shelmer Talking anytime soon, unfortunately, right? I'd love to. I recognize, like, hey, things I'm interested in, frankly, like are aliens and, my frustration with the U.S. government, like a lot of pessimism about the way things are going in the world. And I'm like, it's probably better not to talk about that. Let's just not share that. Like, I have the heart to do like a breakdown of the Congress hearings about aliens, right? It's a 2-hour hearing Congress had. I'd love to make a Zach Shelmer Talking episode all about that. But that's not really a good idea, right? I'm a sports guy. I should probably stick to sports for now. Get Strong Opinion Sports doing great. And maybe if I'm ever a millionaire or doing really well with Strong Opinion Sports, maybe Zach Shelmer Talking will come back, right? But for now, my entire focus is on sports and football, mostly. Sports content. And that's probably right. That's my career. I should stick to that. Stick to sports, Zach. But a thing I did once upon a time on Zach Shelmer Talking, if you look at I record on this device called, it's a Zoom something. These little buttons here, if you press them, they make a noise. I don't remember what noise they make. So I'm not going to hold it up any longer. It feels uncomfortable to have that there. I hit the buttons one time on Zach Shelmer Talking, and it made a funny noise. I don't remember what noise they make. I don't know what happens. I remember it did something. There's 4 of them. I'm just going to hit the buttons on the podcast and the show today. We'll see what happens. It'll be a fun little segment. And that'll be that. We'll call it a show. So let's start with number A. What happens when I press this button? Seems like nothing. It's just flashing at me. Look, it's flashing. Oh, no. Look, you see it? It's flashing, but nothing's happening. So that's a disappointment. What about this one? B, nothing. D, nothing as well. C. Button C does nothing. So at some point, those were programmed to make a noise. They are currently not making a noise. I don't know why. I'm not sure what's going on. What I do know is this thing, it's called the PodTrack P4. It's a Zoom podcasting audio interface. I know that I can program sounds to happen when I hit that button. I don't know how to do that, but maybe that's a project for another day. Well, that was disappointing, guys. I'm going to hit it one more time. Buttons, hitting them, nothing's happening. Turning up the sound. Whoa. Oh, wait a minute. Oh! Zach makes a good joke. See that? They're clapping for me. Oh! That's very... Sorry, I probably blow your eardrums. I'm experimenting. So there's a knob here that controls the volume of that. So we got clapping in C. What's D do? Oh! Makes a bad joke. What's a bad joke? Brittany Mahomes. It's terrible. Brittany Mahomes again. I missed the timing on that one. This is everything I hoped it would be. Just a fun, dumb little thing to do. That was D. What's B do? Oh. I don't know what to do. I don't know the utility of this sound. Like, what do you, welcome to the show, everyone. It's so stupid. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. What's A do? Ooh. This is horrible. This is no use. What if I maybe I have my little sound I do but I do when I cut the show, like I make like a I have a pre-recorded sound, and I do a Strong Opinion Sports logo on YouTube and a little sound to transition to tell you audio or video listeners, hey, the thing is transitioned. Maybe I could program that here and be like, hey, everyone, welcome back to the show. This is KNBR Radio number 7. I didn't ever do live radio. My friends did. I did a radio broadcast a couple times, actually, but I was not the host. I was just a guest on the radio. But I think that's the most fun one. But maybe we can do that. Like, hey, Kenny Pickett. Oh, did I just get really? Kenny Pickett, fantastic quarterback. Give a round of applause for Kenny Pickett. There's something. Okay, this segment's getting old. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for indulging my nonsense. Let's just turn that all the way down so that it can't make more noise if we don't want it to happen. But currently no clapping. It's so funny that I hit it and it wasn't making noise. So I was like, what's going on here? Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to my nonsense. Hope you have a great day. I will see you on Monday to talk about preseason week 3. Until then, enjoy life, man. Girlfriend's coming into town. Got my purple drank. Making fun of Brittany Mahomes on the Sleeper app, my fantasy football league. Life is good. I love you. Appreciate you. Have a great day. Ba-dum-bum. Bam. We are